Hi, today I'm going to show you something really odd that happens on a pool table. In fact, it might actually be unexplainable, but it is really useful information to have. It's actually happened to every single one of us, and you might not even have noticed that it did happen. Today I'm going to do a couple of little experiments that will help you get better position and get out of more snookers. Now, the first experiment I have shown on my other socials, so Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. If you want to follow me on them, my handle is @pooltips101. Now, I asked people to give me a comment to explain what was happening, and not one person got it right. So there's a challenge for you. If you know what is happening, put it in the comments and let's see if we can get the right answer. The second experiment I have never demonstrated, and it is actually even more mind-blowing. So see if you can get the answer to both of them. Anyway, let's start the experiment. What we're going to do is we'll place our cue ball about here, and for the purposes of this experiment, we're going to imagine that we're snookered on a ball that is about here. To keep this experiment consistent, I'm going to place a chalk here, and we're going to play from this same point every single time. And we're going to aim roughly about a point in the cushion. We'll say possibly about here, okay, a bit closer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play from this point to that point, okay? So if I put my cue here for a second, this angle that I'm creating is important. So the angle that I'm talking about is from the cushion to my cue, okay? Now that is over 45 degrees. So let's bear that in mind. Let's play the shot now, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit plain ball, so no spin whatsoever. I'm going to hit the cue ball right in the centre, send it around two cushions, and you can see I've got the cue ball. Well, I hit it, that was quite good. So it came to about there. Now if I play the same shot again, I'm going to play from the same position, I'm going to aim at the same point on the cushion. I'm going to try and hit this about the same speed, because that's important as well. We can manipulate angles with speed. But this time I'm going to put right hand spin on it, a little top right hand spin. So if you imagine the cue ball as a clock face, we're hitting about 2 o'clock on the cue ball. Now if I do that and hit it nice and smooth, you can see I'm getting the cue ball to about there. So let's place another, I'll put it here, not in the pocket, but let's place another Taeum chalk there. You can't hide money, ladies and gentlemen, can you? Oh Jesus, that's a terrible joke. I apologise for that. Might edit it out. Oh, sorry, a little bit of segue. Just while I mentioned Taeum, Taeum are going to start adding a QR code to the bottom of their chalks. This is great news, because if you go through that QR code, I think it takes you to their website and you can find out if the chalk that you have bought is genuine or not, because there is a lot of fakes, especially on eBay, and you don't want to pay £14–15 for a fake piece of chalk. So that's a good thing. And I do recommend Taeum. I am now sponsored by Taeum, but I recommended them even before I was sponsored, and I always said buy from a genuine retailer to make sure that you get a proper block of chalk. And I actually used to recommend another sponsor of mine, Table Time Sport. So if you are looking for a bit, go to them. They're excellent at price, great customer service. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Right, so playing ball, we got to there. Right hand spin, we got to there. I'm sure you can guess what will happen if I put left hand spin on this. So I'm hitting about 10 o'clock on the cue ball this time. So if I do that and hit it nice and smooth, I've hit the knuckle. So if I didn't hit the knuckle, I would be coming down there. Let me see if I can just avoid that knuckle, just so I can get the end point on this. Oof, I'm getting even closer. Let's try again to get even more side on this. Okay, so we managed it that time. You see I actually moved the chalk. So we got to there at the third attempt. Apologies about that. That was rather unfortunate that that was in the way. So you can see with that one shot that I can create quite a wide variance in terms of where I can get the cue ball to. But it is important to note that with right hand spin, I narrowed the angle, and with left hand spin, I widened it. And also, with no spin, it was about halfway in between the two of them. So we're going to mix it up a little bit now. We'll play to this same spot on here, but our starting position we'll put maybe about there. So if I measure this angle again, same as I did with the first shot, so from the cue ball to that point on the cushion, that angle that I'm creating with the cushion on my cue, that is far less than 45 degrees now, and that will change things significantly. So if I play it plain ball, so right in the centre of the cue ball, off the two cushions, nice and smooth, you can see I'm hitting about there. Okay, just play that again, just make sure I'm hitting it consistently so that you can see, right, nice and smooth, off the two cushions, same spot. You can see we're hitting it full ball, okay? Right, so now we're going to hit the same shot again, but with right hand spin again. So the exact same point that we played from here. Now remember, when we hit right hand spin, it ended here, it ended narrow of the object ball. But if we do it this time, right hand spin, 2 o'clock in the cue ball, nice and smooth, we hit about the knuckle there, okay? So this point that was narrower becomes wider. Now, when we hit left hand spin, we narrowed the angle. We widened the angle. So what do you think will happen this time? So I'm going to hit left hand spin. Now it's important to note, left hand spin on these shots is what we would class as check side. The rotation of the cue ball, so with left hand spin, it's going this way. So it's fighting against the natural path that the cue ball wants to take. So a couple of things happen with that. I find it a more difficult shot to hit. What it does, because it's fighting against the natural path, it will slow the cue ball down. So you need to hit it harder. So say we wanted the cue ball to rest on the cushion, you need to hit it harder with check side to get there than you would with running side. And that does a couple of things. Firstly, it adds more spin to it, so you put more spin on it. But secondly, it squares it up off the cushion a bit more. So you introduce a lot of variance with check side, but we'll hit this one nice and smooth, 10 o'clock in the cue ball, same position that we're playing from, and aim at the same point in the cushion. If we do that, you can see we have hit here. So that's that point here. Now, there's something that we've discovered already. So we've flipped the way the cue ball rotates depending on the angle that we're playing onto the cushion. So from here, we played right hand spin and we got to the left hand side of the object ball. And when we played with right hand spin here, we got to the right hand side of it. And it was the opposite when we played with left hand spin. So we got to the right and now we're at the left. So it's flipped around depending on the angle that you play at. Another thing to note is that variance is much smaller. So we can play a bit with that. So we could hit any position in here by varying the spin that we put on it. Whereas when it was here, it was much wider. But also, that ball is not in the middle anymore as it was up there. It is much closer to where we played with running side. So first of all, that's interesting, and we can use that information for when we're getting out of snookers or playing positional shots. If you can explain why they flip round, then let me know in the comments. And please don't just say it's because of the angle that you're playing onto the cushion at. I have had that comment quite a few times, but it'd be good to get a bit more science behind it. So as I said, I've demonstrated that before. I have not demonstrated this shot before, and this one is even more strange. What we're going to do now is I'm going to try and create an angle that is about 45 degrees. So we played from bigger than 45 degrees and less. This time we're going to play from about 45 degrees, which I think is about there. And that just means that, to hit that point, that looks about a 45 degree on my cue. I'm going to play this plain ball again. Let me just check, so I can normally tell from where the cue ball lands if it's about 45 degrees or not. So Nice and smooth, good speed round the two cushions. I think that's maybe a little bit wide. Let's bring that down slightly. Try that again. Plain ball, two cushions. Okay, we're there. That's where we are with plain ball. Now I'm going to play it with right and left hand spin. Now, we flipped it from the first two shots. We could go narrow with right hand spin here and wide here. So what do you think will happen when I play right hand spin this time? What I've done there is I've narrowed the angle by a little bit, narrowed it, okay? So just as we did here, we've narrowed it. Not as much, but you can see that we have narrowed it. Now, if we put left hand spin on this, where do you think the cue ball will end up? Now, in the two shots that we've played, left hand spin has had the opposite effect of right hand spin. So, in theory, it should end up about there. But let me just show you this shot with left hand spin. So I am hitting about 10 o'clock on the clock face again, nice and smooth, from the same position to the same point in the cushion. And if I do it, you can see I'm getting to almost the exact same point. I was probably about there. So both left and right hand spin are narrowing the cue ball on this particular shot when you're playing from about 45 degrees. That in itself to me is really, really interesting. You know, we can flip it depending on where we're playing, but then on a particular angle, doesn't matter if you play left or right, you can't get further down that cushion. So in fact, if you were snookered on that ball there, you could play that shot with left or right, whatever you fancy, and you would hit it. Anyway, so if you can explain that, please do. But to finish up, what would happen if you're trying to hit the ball about there? So it would seem with spin that you cannot widen this angle. So what would you do in this scenario? Well, I'm going to show you two ways that you could tackle it. The first is not what you would do, because it is a difficult shot and I probably won't get it right first time. But I mentioned earlier on in this video that pace can play a bit of a factor in how the ball reacts. So what we're going to do is we're going to play from the same position to the same position, and I'm going to hit 10 o'clock on the cue ball again. So left hand spin. I'm going to hit it harder than I did with these shots. I might need to hit it quite hard, but if I can do that, what's going to happen is it's going to hit here. It's going to make the ball square up off this cushion. So the natural path would be to hit there and then to hit there. If we can square it up, we can maybe get the cue ball to about here. Now, if it does that, you would expect it to come down here, but we have to remember there's still left-hand spin on it, so it's going to check it back this way. So I might need a couple of goes at this. So bear with me, because like I said, check spin on this type of shot is hard. You can introduce a lot of variation with the spin where you're hitting and the pace. So if I hit it quite hard, let's see. So we've managed it. In fact, managed it really well. Hit that ball. Right, there is an easier way. And in fact, the easier way we can get even wider. Before I demonstrate it, can I ask a very, very quick favour? If you found this interesting, if you found it valuable, if you know what's going on, or if you just appreciate any of the time that I spend creating this kind of stuff and making mistakes, please give me a thumbs up, give me a like, give me a comment, subscribe if you haven't done so already, share the video, recommend it to friends, because before I was on YouTube, I didn't really understand what it meant when someone asked for that. They said that it would help the channel. Basically, it just gives YouTube signals of intent, good signals. It says, people like this video. YouTube goes, right, I'm going to push it to other people, which should hopefully result in more views for myself, which results in more subscribers, and like, I mean, you don't make a lot of money off YouTube, but it results in a little bit more, which can help me creating this kind of stuff. So thank you in advance. Right, here's the easier way to do it. It's annoying because I did that first time and did it really well. I'll probably mess this one up. What we can do is, rather than play with side spin, we can put just bottom on the cue ball. Now, if you think about when you put bottom on the cue ball, you normally do it to contact another object ball. It means that the cue ball is rotating like that. It's traveling this way, but it's rotating that way. So when it hits the object ball, it bounces back, okay? Same thing happens, but to a much lesser extent with the cushion. It's traveling to the cushion like that, hits the cushion, it wants to come back. The cushion absorbs a lot more than the ball, so the effect of it is less. But what we can do is we can almost screw it off that cushion to try and get the cue ball to there rather than naturally to there. Now, that is much like that shot that I played there, but we have to remember we've no left-hand spin on it. So if we hit there, it's not going to want to come this way. It's going to take its more natural path and come more down this way. So let's give it a go. We have to get the pace right in this. So in theory, the harder you hit it, the more you can kind of square it up off the cushion. But I'm actually quite close to the cushion in this example, so if I hit it too hard, the rotation of the cue ball isn't going to go in straight away. It's going to skid before it starts rotating. So I have to be quite precise with this. There will be a point where if I start to hit it harder, I'll get less action on it. But fingers crossed, get this first time. If I do, give me a big whoop whoop and do all those things that I asked for, please. But we're going to give it a go. Going to hit it just with bottom, quite a bit of pace, and we're going to try and manipulate the angle to get even further down the cushion than we did before. If we do that, it'll be very good. There we go. Wow. So I got even further than I thought that I might. So there you see, if you've got a shot like that and you need to widen the angle, then I would probably do it with backspin. But thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. See you on the next one.